Hey, what's up, guys? Hope everybody is well. I am here in the Target parking lot, and I had to break away to read the rest of this chapter of this beautiful work, Holy Hesychia, the Stillness that Knows God, by St. Gregory Palamas. He's writing in the 13th century, and he's writing in defense of the Holy Hesychastic understanding of the truth and of the gospel. And here in this section, entitled, it's the first part, In Defense of the Holy Hesychast, Part 1. And he's talking about the difference between worldly philosophy and the philosophy that Paul teaches and the philosophy that comes from God. And I wanted to just some of the this last part of the chapter here. First, he's going to be talking about how philosophy without humility necessarily leads to destruction or tainted information. So I'm going to see how this works out. So it says, do you now see which is the shortest way that now, let's see. Do you now see which is the shortest way that now leads us with the least danger and most profit to these supernatural and heavenly treasures? If you begin with worldly wisdom, on the other hand, it is first necessary to kill the serpent. In other words, overcome the pride that comes to you from this wisdom. How difficult is this? No wonder it is said that the arrogance of philosophy has nothing in common with humility. After you have overcome it, you must separate and throw away the head and tail, for these things are the extremities, and they are evil in the highest degree. By the head, I mean manifestly wrong opinions concerning things noetic, divine, and primordial. By the tail, I mean illusions about created things. As to what lies between, that is, discourses on nature, you must separate harmful ideas by using the abilities in critical analysis by observation belonging to your psyche, just as pharmacists purify the flesh of serpents with fire and water. However, to do all this and make good use of what has been properly set aside, much effort and much judgment will be required. Nevertheless, if you put to good use the part of the secular wisdom that has been clearly separated from the rest, no harm can result, for now, by its nature, it will have become an instrument for good. Even so, it cannot in the strict sense be called a gift of God and a spiritual thing, for it is derived from the order of nature. It is not sent from on high. This is why Paul, who is wise concerning all things divine, calls it carnal, saying, "Consider that among us who have been chosen, there are not many of us who are wise according to the flesh." Who could make better use of this wisdom than those Paul calls externally wise? Yet even though they have the wisdom in their nous, he calls them wise according to the flesh. The term is appropriate. In lawful marriage, the pleasure whose aim is procreation cannot truly be called a gift of God, because it is physical and given us by nature, not by grace, even though that nature has been created by God. In the same way, the knowledge derived from exterior education, even if it is well used, is a gift of nature and not of grace. It is given by God to everyone without exception. It is part of our nature, and we can develop it by practice. This last point, that nobody acquires it without effort and practice, is clear proof that it is a natural and not spiritual gift. It is our sacred wisdom that is properly called a gift of God. It is not a gift of nature. Even simple fishermen who receive this wisdom from on high become, as Gregory the theologian says, sons of thunder, whose word encompasses the very bounds of the universe. By this grace, even publicans are made merchants of souls, and even the burning zeal of persecutors who receive it transformed. Saul became Paul, and turned away from the earth to attain the third heaven and hear indescribable things. We too can become conformed to the image of God by this grace, so that we will continue in this form after death. As to natural wisdom, it is said that Adam possessed it in abundance, more than any of his descendants, although he was the first of all those who failed to safeguard our conformity to the divine image. On the other hand, the worldly philosophy existed to serve this sacred wisdom before the advent of him who came to recall the psyche to its primordial beauty. But why were we not renewed by it before the advent of Christ? Why did we need not a teacher of philosophy, an art which passes away with this age so that it is said to be of this age, but one who takes away the sin of the world, and who gives a true and eternal wisdom, even though this appears to be foolishness to the short-lived and corrupt wise men of this world? It is the lack of this which makes truly foolish those who do not bind it to their noose. Do you see clearly that it is not the study of worldly sciences that brings salvation, nor does it purify the knowledge within the psyche, nor make it into a likeness of the divine archetype? I will draw an appropriate conclusion from what I have previously said on the subject. If a man who turns towards the prescriptions of the law to seek purification gets no help from Christ, even though the law has clearly been given by God, then neither will learning the worldly sciences help. Then will it also be true that Christ will be of no help to someone who turns to the rejected philosophy of the worldly men to gain purification for his psyche? It is Paul, the spokesman of Christ, who tells us this and bears witness to it. Now, brother, this is what you must say to those who give too much importance to worldly wisdom. In the passages we have transcribed below, we shall show them in another way how futile and trivial this appeared to our holy fathers, particularly to those who have experienced it. Gregory, Bishop of Nyssa, from Contemplation on the Formation of the Body. This is the law of the spiritual sheep, never to heed the voice which speaks outside the church, and, as the Lord said, never listen to the voice of a stranger. Gregory, Bishop of Nyssa, from Letter to Epatros. Your zeal for reading about worldly matters proves to me that you do not care about the divine sciences. Basil the Great, from Commentary on the 14th Psalm. We have discovered two meanings in the word truth. One refers to understanding the way leading to the blessed life. The other is the proper understanding of many of the phenomena of this world. The first truth contributes to our salvation. It is present in the hearts of the perfect, who transmit it unchanged to those around them. But if we do not know the truth about the earth and the sea, the stars, their movement, and their speed, this will not prevent anybody from reaching the promised beatitude. Dionysius the Great, from the second book, The Ecclesiastical Hierarchy. In the teaching of the divine scriptures, assimilation to the union with God is only accomplished through the most loving observance of the revered commandments and by the doing of sacred acts. Chrysostom, from Commentary on the Gospel of St. Matthew. What in the past that externally wise could not imagine even in their dreams, fishermen and unlettered men have told us with full certainty. Having renounced the earth, they speak of all that can be found in the heavens. They bring us a new life and a new existence, of freedom, a bondage, a new world and everything different, but not in the manner of Plato or Zeno or of those who have composed the laws. The very personality of these last has shown us that an evil spirit and a primitive daemon, which turns against our nature, instructed their souls. As for the fishermen, they teach us about such knowledge of God that no philosopher had ever succeeded in bringing to mind. So the knowledge of these philosophers is in the past and has disappeared for good reason, for these are the doctrines of daemons. It has disappeared unto disrepute, the object of mockery, of less value than cobwebs. Unlike our own doctrines, it is presumptive, full of shadows and futility. St. Gregory the Theologian, from Homily 16. The first wisdom is life praiseworthy and purified by God. a life on the way to being purified by the most pure and the most luminous one, by him who asks us only one sacrifice, purification. The first wisdom is to scorn the wisdom of words that take the form of verbal refinements and deceitful and misleading contradictions. The first is the wisdom which I praise. It is this which I seek, the wisdom by which fishermen, after having overcome the wisdom reduced to nothing, have captured the entire universe in the net of the Gospels with their perfect and cosmic words. Next, St. Cyril from Commentary on the 9th Psalm. Those who have practiced the worldly, demonic, and animal wisdom boast about themselves and plunge those with limited intelligence into the fire. They make them sons of Gena. They speak in favor of lying, and with their glib tongues they make their ruse attractive. They succeed in fooling the many people who are taken with the advice of these charlatans, and who then fall into their nets. All their counsels are snares and entanglements to trap those without education. Again, from Gregory, Bishop of Nyssa, from Commentary on Ecclesiastes. See the syllogistic demonstration of Ecclesiastes. It says that much knowledge accompanies much wisdom, and that an increase of sorrow follows an increase of knowledge. So the acquisition of the many superfluous sciences of those in the world, as well as the highest human wisdom and knowledge acquired by the pain and long hours, do not bring anything necessary or useful, nor anything that earns eternal life for those who have been dedicated so much zeal to these things. Instead, it earns them greater pain. So we must say goodbye to all that. Be vigilant in chanting, in prayers, and in supplications addressed to our own Creator, our God, and our Master. Attach ourselves firmly and commit our time to Him, in order that our useless occupations may not condemn us to even a brief delay in the school of vanities. We must lift up our hearts and nous to the incomprehensible height of the divine majesty, with the help of this kind of exercise, by participation and communion in which we abandon ourselves to the inexpressible glory. To the measure that it may be contemplated and imagined, we must fix our attention on the beauty of the sum of glory, and allow it to illuminate us men inwardly and outwardly. Then we will be filled with the inexpressible divine joy.